It's iconic because it is where she would store love notes from her lover. Hello, welcome back to Vintage Splendor. I'm Annette, and today we are diving into the world of vintage Chanel bags. In case if this little display didn't give it away, I love my vintage Chanel bags. I don't think I'm quite a collector because I only have 3 bags, but why not spend today just diving into the history of the brand's iconic and timeless designs. But I also wanted to share tips with you if you want to buy your first vintage Chanel bag, or if you are a collector, just to share a little bit more about the different styles and some things to know if you want to buy a vintage Chanel bag. So let's get started. Let's start with my collection and why I started buying vintage Chanel. So I consider myself to be a vintage collector. So when I wanted to invest in a handbag, I wanted to make it count, and I wanted a Chanel bag, but I didn't want a bag that everybody else had. I think at the time when I got my first Chanel bag, the new Chanel bag prices were not insane, but again, I didn't want something that everybody else had, and because I am a vintage collector, I knew automatically I was going to buy a Chanel bag. But then I wanted to know which one was most me, and the one that I bought, well actually Alan bought it for me because I told him this is the one I want, is their 1980s camera bag. And what really drew me to this style were 2 things. First, it has this outside pocket, which is just handy, but also the stitching is that diamond stitching, which is really unique to this particular style of bag. And again, I didn't want to spend a ton of money to buy a bag that everybody else had. I got a bag that was not quite popular at the time, and I paid, well, Alan paid less than $1,000, and this bag has now just like exploded in price because people are starting to look for these really unique details, which I love. The next bag that I added to my collection is the Vanity Bag. So this is not a handbag, it's actually a bag designed to store your makeup, your beauty products for travel. But again, I was thinking beyond the box. I was thinking budget conscious. So this was about $500. I love the color. I knew this is going to be a color that was always going to be in style, and I've styled this with this cool like modern guitar strap just to be able to wear it crossbody. But I also love it as an evening bag and just to hold it this way. So I love this style, and what you'll notice a trend with me is like I always go for the pieces that are just like not very common, and that's how I can ensure that I'm buying a piece that is a little bit more cost effective, budget conscious, so to speak, but also really fabulous. So if you follow me on Instagram or on my blog, I spent months looking for this belt bag. I have a whole blog post about buying a belt bag, because not all belt bags are created equal. So most of these were popular in the 80s and 90s, and even though the brand brings back this iconic style from time to time, they usually do not accommodate a modern telephone, so like the iPhone or your Samsung or your Droid or anything like that. So I wanted a bag after I had kids that was a practical mom bag. Yes, I consider this a practical mom bag, because then I could put my phone, my chapstick, and my wallet in here, and then just be hands-free to run around after the girls. It could be dressed up, it could be dressed down. And even though my wardrobe is not like all black, like 2 of my handbags are black, and that's okay. I love it. So this is definitely a style that I've used a lot. And this features the classic diamond stitch, which I love for this particular style. So this is my collection. And honestly, like over the years, I just, like pin styles that I like. I just look to see where I could find the best possible deal. And having been in this space for so long, I know what to look for when I am buying vintage to ensure I'm buying an authentic piece that is not too damaged beyond repair. And I can talk a little bit about that. But first, let's chat about the history of the brand and some of their key styles, because I think it's really interesting to know how this particular bag changed the handbag game forever. So let's do that now. Let's start with the Chanel Classic Double Flap Bag, also known as the most iconic bag of all time. So this was actually the first shoulder bag to ever come into existence for sale in 1955, and it still remains as the most sought after bag, and it's probably the most iconic bag. Let's open her up because this burgundy lining is very historically important to the heritage of the Chanel brand. Only the black lambskin vintage classic double flap bag has a burgundy lining, and it was handpicked by Coco Chanel herself. So for example, a vintage Chanel classic double flap bag in a color or caviar leather does not have this burgundy lining. So this is very special and very unique to this particular style. Another thing I love about this particular bag is it has this small zipper top pocket, and most people don't know that this was designed by Coco Chanel again in 1955, and it's iconic because it is where she would store love notes from her lover, and it stayed with this particular style through the years. So this was introduced in 1983 by Karl Lagerfeld as a reinterpretation of the 2.55. So it has the CC interlock, it has the quilted leather, it has the chain link strap woven with leather, and it's a very practical design. It's a double flap for more structure, and it's a timeless appeal in both vintage and modern collections. So it has this double flap, it has extra pockets in there, so it is timeless. It is something that marries function plus form. So over the years, they introduced like different materials and colors. So you might see it in a red suede or maybe a denim blue, but the classic iconic one is the black leather. The Chanel Princess Diana bag is considered the second most iconic bag from Chanel, and it was named after Princess Diana by Karl Lagerfeld. The bag skyrocketed in popularity after Diana was seen photographed in the bag. She was a style icon then and even now, but this bag was only produced from 1989 to 1995 when Diana and Charles got married. And if you know, she stopped wearing anything with the interlocking C's at that point because of Camilla. I guess Camilla gave Charles a pair of cufflinks for the wedding. So Diana swore off the interlocking C's after that. So because production for this particular style was so limited, these are very rare bags. I have to say, if you're gonna invest in a more classic style, I would go with the Diana as opposed to the double flap bag because this is so rare and I just love to be different. You know me. As you know, my favorite style is the vintage camera bags. This one's mine, this one's borrowed. So these were designed for Coco's love for photographers, and they were inspired by the bags photographers and reporters carry when shooting Chanel fashion show. Again, this is another bag that marries function with fashion, and the detail that I absolutely love is the tassel. It just really elevates and spices up this bag. So this particular bag was really popular in the 80s and 90s. So it features a rectangular shape and it has the quilted design and two different options, and it has this great long chain strap that you can wear crossbody. And as I mentioned, I love that it always has an external pocket. This one is a little bit smaller on this side, and then mine has this really great outer pocket. I would say like these bags fit everything that you will ever need. They're really fun, and if you're looking for a bag that again is really fun, it's timeless, it's classic, it's unique, and she's just a little bit different, I would definitely go with a camera bag. And if you can find it in a really fun rare color like this turquoise one, go for it. Another style that I love is the belt bag. So this is a piece that's come in and out of Chanel's collection over the years. It usually is a very small quilted pouch attached to a belt, so it's perfect for a hands-free look if that's what you're going for. So these are very collectible in vintage markets, especially when it's paired with this chain link or leather belt. So mine actually features both, and this particular style comes in brown, it comes in a beige, it comes in a red. So if you're looking for a very high-end hands-free belt bag, this baby is it. If you're in the market to buy a vintage Chanel bag, I get it. It can be stressful because there are so many websites or vintage shops where you can buy your vintage Chanel bag. And of course, the number one thing we're all concerned about is authenticity. So there are some replicas or fakes of vintage bags, but it's not as common as brand new trending bags. The most, I think, concerning thing for me would be is if you buy a vintage Chanel bag and it just has a little like serial sticker from another bag, just so the company who's selling it to you can mark up the price. But let me get into kind of 5 tips in general that you should keep an eye out for if you are looking to buy a vintage Chanel bag. And I'm going to highly recommend that you look at a guide I have on my website because it goes into all of the details. I have recommendations for places that guarantee authenticity that I trust and I shop at. But let's dive into that, but then definitely follow up with a little bit of homework and check out the article on my website. Okay, one of the things that is an easy telltale sign is to look at the interlocking C's. So on authentic bags, the right C should overlap the left at the top and the left should overlap the right at the bottom. So again, read my blog post so you can see images of this, but this is one of the easiest telltale signs because while fakes are getting better, replicas are getting better, they always miss some important detail. This is one of those that the fakes just can't seem to get right. Another really easy giveaway with fakes and replicas is to check the stitch count. So Chanel's quilting, this quilting right here, is very, very precise. So usually around 10 to 12 stitches per inch. Fewer stitches than that might indicate a replica. It's not always the case, but you can always keep an eye out for that. If for some reason there's 15 stitches, you know that's a dead giveaway. As I mentioned, vintage Chanel bags always feature gold-plated hardware if they were produced pre-2008. If the metal has rubbed off, check for a base layer of gold instead of cheap materials. Bags that have that 24 karat gold plating will feature that 24 karat gold hallmark right there. So keep an eye out for that as well. Chanel bags from 1986 onwards have a serial number sticker on the inside, and that number format can help you date the bag. My post will have more information on that. If the bag comes with an authenticity card, you want to make sure that the authenticity card and the serial sticker match. And if you're not sure if your bag is pre-1986 or not, ask the seller more information about the bag. Just because it doesn't have the serial sticker doesn't mean it's a fake. Finally, you want to smell and feel the leather. So of course, authentic Chanel bags use high quality lambskin or caviar leather, and I will say the vintage quality is so much better than the new quality. Like, don't even bother with the new stuff. So even if a Chanel bag has been stored, let's say in a collector's closet for decades without being opened, it might have a musty smell, but it's still going to have that like really beautiful buttery soft leather feel. It's going to have that smell of leather. If it smells plasticky or chemically, or if it smells like mildew, you want to avoid that. But if it is a chemical or plasticky smell, then it's probably a fake or it was treated in some sort of replica factory. If it has mildew smell, then it was probably not stored properly. And even if it is an authentic bag, you want to avoid it because you'll never get rid of that mildew smell. I know all of you are like me, you're sustainable minded, you're thrifty, you love vintage, but I just want to stress why you should buy your bags vintage instead of new. So a lot of the new bags really don't have any of that quality and craftsmanship of vintage Chanel bags. So let's get into the basics, okay? So all vintage Chanel bags are handmade in Italy or France. The new bags are not. I mentioned the 24 karat gold plating, which they stopped producing in 2008. So guess what? Everything new is colored metal. So not only You're not getting a handcrafted bag. It's using cheap materials, colored metals. We love color. We love exclusive and rare styles. So this particular turquoise color is so hard to find, and they no longer make this style or this color. So you are getting a piece of true fashion history. I mean, look at this color. None of the new bags have this much attitude, this much just spice, as I like to call it. I love the colors of the vintage bags, and this particular style with the border is another one that is very rare. So all vintage Chanel bags were produced during Karl Lagerfeld's leadership at the brand, and once he passed, all of these bags became collector's pieces because they are true testaments of a fashion legacy. So while the new bags might have that new car smell, so to speak, they're $12,000 plus for something that is pretty much mass produced, in my opinion, whereas you can spend less than half and get a piece of fashion history. You can have an iconic bag. It's going to retain its value. It's more sustainable. You're actually getting and paying for quality craftsmanship. I think she matches me, right? Let's chat about when you should buy or pass on a vintage Chanel bag. So I shop on eBay. I also shop on Fashion File. I shop with Classic Coco or even The Real Real. There are a lot of places to buy your vintage Chanel bag, but I would say all are not created equal. So there are companies that have in-house repair teams. So when you are buying a vintage Chanel bag, it should come in pristine condition. The condition should be 9 out of 10. It should come with the serial sticker. It should come with the authenticity card. It should come with its dust bag and preferably the original box. If it doesn't come with the original box or the original dust bag, the company should provide that for you. You are going to be paying a premium, but they've done all of the work for you. They are handing you a bag that has been completely refinished. So the gold was refinished. It was redipped in 24 karat gold. You can see the bag still maintains its beautiful shape. So it is ready to go. It's like buying a brand new bag, but not paying the inflated retail price. But let's say you're shopping on eBay because you're looking to get a bargain. So I would say, I mentioned that the mildew smell is kind of hard to get rid of. You want to make sure that there isn't a really foul odor. And if you are buying from a place like eBay or let's say The Real Real, you really want to know if that information is disclosed before you buy, because you will not get this smell out. And I have professional repair person telling me this and has told me to avoid bags. So I'll link his information below, but Mark with the Leather Pros used to work in-house at Chanel doing repairs. Now he does it on his own, and I asked him for tips. There's another post on my website all about his tips for buying a vintage Chanel or designer bag and kind of when you should like buy a project and when to avoid. So one of the projects that I did buy was my cute little vanity. This did have some minor scuffs and scratches, but before I bought it, I just reached out to him. I asked him, can you repair this bag for me? And he said, absolutely. I just sent him detailed pictures. I mean, you can see I just got like my little fingerprint on it. And he just told me, yes, you could buy that and I can repair it for you. So that was really great. If it has like a tear in it, I see some vintage Chanel bags that are labeled junk because they have like literally, it looks like a dog took a bite out of the bag. Could it be repaired? Yes. Is it going to look perfect? No. Is it worth spending that money? No. So be careful when you buy. I think the most important thing is you don't want to buy something that has a really bad smell and then nothing with like major tears or rips. I think something like a broken zipper can also be repaired. Just note that exotic skins are really hard to repair. So if it does come damaged, there isn't a lot that can be done to repair it. Suede is also another material that is kind of hard to repair. Same with patent leather. So if I were you, I would either go with just the black, like a regular leather, or with the caviar leather. Am I living my best life right now? Absolutely. But too bad I have to return some of these bags back to my friend Alexandra. She sent them to me just so I could have a little bit of fun, but also shoot this really informative video. So I'm going to remind you to check out the posts I have on my blog because they are very detailed, very helpful. I'm going to link them below. If you want to see me style up some of these iconic styles, let me know in the comments. Or if you want to see specific content, maybe it's diving into another design house or just styling up the fall trends with the holidays coming up, just let me know what you want to see from me in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I have a new video out every Friday, so I'll see you next week. Bye!